All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It's Thursday. We'd usually be doing a deep dive today on our upcoming opponent, but we don't have an upcoming opponent on Saturday. So instead, last night the SEC finally released the 2024 final football schedules. We'll talk about that for the University of Texas. We'll have a transfer portal update today. Little recruiting update today. And then we'll talk about those Lady Horns volleyball girls. We don't do a good job on this show at all of covering women's sports. And that is not because I don't love women. I obviously love women. I love my wife very much. I love my daughter very much. I used to have a mom and I've got a sister, so I love women. Just don't have enough time to follow all the sports. But someone called me out on TikTok yet. Not really called me out. It was very friendly. But, hey, please do an update on the Lady Horns volleyball team and do a shout-out to those young ladies. So we're going to do that today. And we're going to finish out the season with those Lady Horns as well. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, you can find us at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. 2024 football schedule's finally out. We knew, I don't remember when we knew. We knew at some point in the last few months which teams each team were going to play, but we didn't have a good idea of when. And then maybe a week or two ago, a few of the more, what did the SEC call it? Key games, superlative games. I don't know. Just a list of some of the bigger matchups that are going to be in the SEC next year came out with some dates. But we didn't have the full picture yet. Now we got the full picture. And for the University of Texas, and folks, listen, when you're adding Oklahoma, you're adding Texas to the SEC, you're adding two blue blood programs that already in the mix with a lot of other really good college football programs, a lot of blue bloods, a lot of really good programs, a lot of dangerous programs. So really nobody probably has an easy season in the SEC going forward. And I haven't compared all of them yet, but this one for Texas in particular, when you account for out of conference and the conference schedule, it's going to be a doozy, folks. August 31st, Texas kicks it off against Colorado State in Austin. Colorado State, not that good of a team. They did bring the wood on Colorado. If you remember the whole, let's kill this guy and his family because he tackled Travis Hunter really hard, knocked him out of the game. That's Colorado State. September 7th, Texas travels up to Ann Arbor to play Michigan. Michigan, obviously in the playoff this year, been in the playoffs. I think this is their second time in a row. Maybe they went 3 years ago. Can't remember. I've had a lot of alcohol since then. But certainly, top-end program. If anything, Texas didn't need to do necessarily headed into the SEC the first year was find somebody in the top 5 to go play at a conference for the second year in a row. September 14th, UTSA at Austin. And then September 21st, Louisiana Monroe in Austin. Texas kicks off their SEC schedule on September 28th at home against Mississippi State. And then Texas gets a bye on October 5th. Usually the first full weekend, I believe, the first weekend of the state fair, and maybe it's just the first full week of the state fair. Maybe it's not the first full weekend of I don't know. Usually this game is a little bit earlier. As the calendar goes, we kind of get in between weeks. So anyway, I was kind of thinking maybe this game against the Oklahoma and the Red River Shootout would be October 5th. Wrong. That's an idle week for Texas. October 12th, the Red River Shootout at the State Fair of Texas in Dallas. Get done with that one, head home. October 19th, you got the Georgia Bulldogs coming to town. Two-time defending national champs. August 26th, they go out to Nashville to play Vandy. And then they get the late season bye week, November 2nd. They're idle. November 9th, Florida Gators come to town. November 16th, they head to Fayette-Nam to play Arkansas. November 23rd, back home for the Kentucky Wildcats. And then on November 30th, on the road, College Station, Texas A&M. What stands out about this schedule to the Horn Takes podcast? First thing, Texas really didn't get that customary SEC bye week at the end of the year where they play a non-conference joke, basically, which is cool because we got 2 bye weeks this year. I don't know if that'll be the case going forward. I don't know that that's ever happened in college football for a major program. I really don't know. I've certainly never seen Texas have 2 bye weeks. And so they got a late season bye week that's literally a bye week. Instead of having to go play Chattanooga or, I don't know, these shit teams that a lot of SEC schools play at the end of the season to kind of break up the monotony of the SEC schedule, Texas just gets to stay at home and get healthy and prepare for their next game for a couple weeks. 5 of the first 7 games of the 2024 schedule are at Darrell K. Royal, where Texas hasn't lost since November 12th of 2021. Starting to build a little home winning streak. 3 of the last 5, however, are on the road, and 2 of those games are renewed, old school, Southwest Conference / Big 12 rivalries. You got to go on the road to play Arkansas. And the last time Texas went to go play Arkansas on the road was Steve Sarkisian's first year, and it was ugly. I don't remember the final score of that game. Casey Thompson came in. If you don't remember, that was the game that Hudson Card started. Casey Thompson came in, I believe, some point in the second half. Scored a couple. I think they had a couple scoring drives late in the game that made it, somewhat reasonable. But Arkansas absolutely controlled that game. Obviously, this is a different Texas team, especially in the trenches, and that's really where Arkansas kind of owned Texas. Was in both sides of the line of scrimmage in that game. Fayetteville, not an easy place to play. Texas fans call it Fayette-Nam. And then, of course, the renewed rivalry with the Texas A&M Aggies down in Colleyville. Last time Texas and Aggie played was 2011 down in College Station. Texas kicked a long field goal at the end of that game to win. Gets supposedly eternal scoreboard over A&M as they headed to the SEC. I know that's been eating at Aggie fans. Now Aggie fans will get their chance to get a little payback, and they get that game at home. And, man, a lot of stuff's changed. Go back to 2011. A lot of stuff has changed for both of these programs, especially facilities-wise. Those stadiums, I feel like Texas A&M has added some more things since 2011 to their stadium. I couldn't tell you exactly what they are. I know they've built the capacity up really high. I feel like maybe that big end zone expansion got done since 2011. Obviously, Texas has done a whole lot of stuff since 2011. Be good to see both of those rivalries get back on track. Something else about another massive out-of-conference road game in week 2. Michigan up in Ann. We talked about it a second ago. That's gonna be a tough one. That's an early season test. And as you head into this, doing something like that during the BCS era was almost unheard of because you just about had to be undefeated. In fact, I wouldn't swear it didn't happen, but I cannot remember a one-loss team that played in the national championship during the BCS era. So you really couldn't risk it. Now, some teams did. Texas is one of those, went up to the shoe, play Ohio State, their championship year. And then as we went into this 4-team playoff, there was still like this sense that you really couldn't afford to lose a game. It's really hard, unless you're in the right conference, really hard to lose a game and make it to the playoff. Now with the 12-team expansion, what I hope we'll see is we'll start to see more and more of these types of matchups, because losing one game, even losing a couple games, not going to keep you out of that 12-game playoff or 12-team playoff, as long as you're playing really highly ranked teams and you're competitive in those games. Obviously, two top 5 teams already baked into this schedule. Michigan and Georgia. That doesn't count a possible SEC championship game. Doesn't count what these other schools will be ranked to. Who knows what they get ranked to or not ranked to at certain points in the season. And then, hopefully for Texas, they're playing in their second straight college football playoff. So obviously they'll be playing some ranked teams, I would think, during that. Just some interesting historical things. Georgia returns to Austin for the first time since 1958. I wasn't sure if Georgia and Texas had ever played in Austin, so I had to go back and check it out. I know I look really old, but this was way before I was born, so I think it's fair that I didn't know this. 1958. Texas and Florida play for the first time since 1940, and for the first time in Austin since 1939. Again, I wasn't sure if Texas and Florida had ever played. I kind of was under the guise heading into this whole SEC thing, and once they announced the teams that each team would play, that Texas and Florida had never played. Turns out, way back in the day, Texas was basically in the SEC. So, there's that. Texas and Vandy play for the first time since 1928, and for the first time in Nashville since 1925. Texas and Kentucky will be playing for only the second time, and for the first time since a 7-6 Texas win in Austin back in 1951. So we've played a lot of these teams, just been a really long time. So it will be cool to play some different teams. I'm excited about that. I think most Texas fans are excited about that. Name recognition matters. I mean, who knows how good Florida is actually going to be next year? But it's Florida, and that's something different for Texas fans. That place will be packed for that Florida game. That place will certainly be packed for that Georgia game. And we've talked about it before, but just a giant F-U, back up, giant fuck you to the scheduling people of the F1 race and this Georgia weekend thing, this SEC thing. Bad idea. Austin is a big city. I think it's probably the biggest SEC city. I don't know how many people live in Nashville. But it's not big enough to hold Georgia, Texas, and the F1 race. So hopefully going forward, this was just a deal that was unavoidable. Hopefully going forward, we'll have better plans for when this F1 race is around. The Horn Takes Traveling Roadshow has already got plans to be at 4 of these games. We are going to Ann Arbor. We will be at the Red River Shootout. We will be at the Georgia game, and we will be at the Florida game. And I know Georgia and Florida are home games, but we got to travel to get to those games. Thus, Lee, the Horn Takes Traveling Roadshow. So, the schedule's out. We're excited about it. We already knew the teams. Now we've got dates. We still got a little unfinished business this year, Texas fans, but I think we're all really, really looking forward to making this jump to the SEC. We said goodbye to the Big 12 in blowout fashion. And I think we're all just ready to move on to something different. Maybe not something better, just something different. Transfer portal update. We haven't talked a whole lot about this. but we'll kind of run it down. And the Longhorns up until yesterday, we're doing pretty well from a transfer portal perspective of guys leaving the program. Not necessarily like numbers wise, but just guys that had an impact on anything that's happened on the field. It all started out with DB Xavion Bryce. He announced he was going to go in the portal almost immediately. Jalen Catalon was not too far behind him. Offensive lineman Sawyer Gorham Welch. B.J. Allen, defensive back. If you'll notice a trend, there's a lot of defensive backs leaving the program. Jalen Catalon, man, a lot of Texas fans were excited about him, excited about what he could do. He was all SEC as a freshman, I believe, at Arkansas. And then he just started getting hurt all the time. And, man, the same thing followed him here to Texas. He's a physical dude, man. And he's like 5'11", maybe 205, something like that. Maybe 5'10", 205. So he's a pretty big dude for a safety. Chunky, I guess, would be, stocky type dude. And, man, he just likes to lay the wood. He is just a physical player. And the problem is you got these big backs running at you, full blast. You're running full blast at them, and you're not so small yourself. Y'all run into each other. That shit's not good for your body. And for Jalen Catalon, he just could not stay healthy. So he's in the portal, and he's not going to stick with the program. I don't know about some of these other guys. Steve Sarkisian says, you enter the portal, you're gone. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago. He's making an exception for this playoff run. And I think it's probably twofold. It's like, hey, you guys earned it. You've been with the program. You deserve this opportunity to go experience this. And the other part of it is he's got to kind of look at depth. Got to have players, right? So that opportunity's been extended to all of these guys. I think the only one I've heard that's not doing it of the names I've just mentioned is Jalen Catalon. He's just out. Like he supposedly cleaned his locker out, gone. I don't know. I haven't heard much reporting on, what the reasons were. I think he just kind of realized he got passed up. He didn't play a lot late in the season. Didn't play at all in the Big 12 championship game. Played only a few snaps against Texas Tech, I believe. So DB B.J. Allen in the portal. Wide receiver Casey Kane. This is a guy with amazing speed. He's a sophomore. Had a couple catches his freshman year. Made a couple really nice plays. Runs after catch. Man, just couldn't get on the field. It's just too much talent in front of him. Defensive back Larry Turner Gooden. He's a guy that I believe came in on the 22 class. Signed late or flipped late to Texas. Again, just never got on the field. He's in the portal. Wide receiver Isaiah Nair. This one, man. We talked earlier this season about Isaiah Nair, and he was kind of like we thought would be a dark horse offensively. And the only reason we thought he'd be a dark horse is because you had A.D. Mitchell coming in, already had Worthy, already had Jordan Whittington. Lots of really highly touted freshman wide receivers came in this last year into the program. Isaiah Nair coming off of an ACL. Isaiah Nair was going to be the guy. Isaiah Nair was going to be A.D. Mitchell 2 fall camps ago before he tore his ACL. And then when he finally recovered, for whatever reason, I don't know if he just didn't trust that knee. I don't know if the staff didn't trust that knee. I don't know. I have no idea why he didn't get on the field this much, but he just didn't. I don't know how many snaps he had this year, but it wasn't a lot. I think he has 1 catch on the whole season. Kind of in garbage time. So he's just a guy that came to Texas with a lot of promise. That injury really derailed him, and he just couldn't ever get back to where he was when he got to Texas. So he's going to go on and transfer somewhere, and he's going to make somebody really happy. That dude is talented. And then obviously the big news yesterday, quarterback Malik Murphy says he's going to transfer. And this is a guy that we thought might end up transferring last season. Just way too talented. And we thought that last season somebody would come along and say, man, Malik Murphy, we think you can be our starter. Don't sit behind Quinn Ewers. And a lot of schools tried that, especially after his spring game performance. And he said, no, I'm going to stay at Texas. So Malik Murphy's the only guy in the portal so far that's played any amount of significant time. And folks, Malik Murphy certainly has played some significant time. He started 2 games for Texas this season while Quinn Ewers was injured. BYU, big win. K-State, super fast start, and then just kind of coasted to the end. Had to bite the nails as the defense made some plays late in that game for Texas to win against K-State. So he played both of those games the entire time. So if it wasn't for Malik Murphy, I don't know. We don't know what would happen if we didn't have Malik Murphy on the roster, but we know that with Malik Murphy on the roster, Texas was able to go undefeated with him as a starter and keep that Big 12 championship hope alive, keep that college football playoff alive. So certainly a huge contributor to the 2023 Texas Longhorns. After the news broke that he was going to be entering the portal, it wasn't too much longer that some news broke that he's not staying for the college football playoff. And so my horn take on all of this is I think he already knows where he's going. I think Malik Murphy's the type of guy that is not going to make a decision like that until he has a pretty good idea where he's going. So I think in the next few days we'll hear where Malik Murphy is going to wind up. But horn take, he already knows where he's going, and the Gaining School / NIL collective / whatever is leveraging him out of finishing out the season with Texas. They're basically saying, hey, man, we want you. We want to pay you this much amount of money. I don't know if there's a guaranteed. I don't know if coaches ever do that. I feel like there almost has to be that, because if there wasn't, some of these guys just wouldn't go. But let's say, hey, you're going to be our starter. You're penciled in as the number 1 guy, but you can't finish the season with Texas. We need to get you to campus. We need to get you started here. I feel like that's what happened. A lot of people asking, where's he going? I don't know. I think some places that make sense. USC's from California. They're certainly going to need a starter. He's got a big-time arm. The Ohio State University, their starter's leaving. There was already rumors, people begging for him to come to Ohio State after the season, kind of right around the time the transfer portal was about to open up. And they've made a living off of big-armed quarterbacks in the past. So I think he's a guy that could fit into that type of system and do very well. And then I think Florida State might be an option. Florida State lost their quarterback. The backups haven't looked all that impressive. I think Malik Murphy could certainly go to Florida State and probably be the starter right off the bat. I don't know what's behind Caleb Williams at USC. But Malik Murphy, very talented kid. I know Ohio State's probably got some talented kids on the roster. It'll be interesting to see where he winds up. And then there's probably, a million other places, obviously, that need quarterbacks. I'm not real sure what's more important to him, being at a big-time program or just playing. And he's certainly going to go D1. So it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. We wish Malik Murphy nothing but the best. We've been talking about Malik Murphy for over a year now. Ever since the TCU game last year, when I finally got to see him warming up, and I was like, man, that dude has got a cannon of an arm. You see stuff on film and you just can't tell. You go watch it in person, you can see it. He's got special arm talent. We really like Malik Murphy. Man, he will. It's going to be weird, man. He's going to be one of those guys that's a trader, but just always kind of holds like a special place in your heart because of what he was able to do. You know, first of all, he stayed around. He wasn't scared that Arch Manning was coming. He said, I'm going to stay and compete. You know, you can just tell him and that quarterback room have a really good bond. Just seems like a really good kid. And I wish the best for him. I hope wherever he goes, he makes good money. He has an outstanding career. The only time I would ever wish anything bad on Malik Murphy is if he's playing Texas. And the only thing bad I wish on him is he throws a couple picks and he doesn't win the game. We really, really, really like Malik Murphy. Good luck to that young man. Portal targets for Texas. And these are like legitimate ones. These are not like, oh, they're in the portal. If you're on Twitter and there's any amount of LSU fans that pop up on your feed, they literally want every player that enters the portal. There's a few of them that I follow back from some arguments during college baseball season. And really when Colin Simmons committed and they started flapping their gums about how it was all money. And I'm like, dude, you just won a College World Series with money. That's the game now. Like, there's nothing bad about it. Just don't speak out of both sides of your mouth, LSU fans. Anyways, they want every guy in the portal. That's pretty fucking hilarious. But these are guys that, like, there's some mutual interest between player and the University of Texas. The first one, Texas A&M transfer defensive lineman Walter Nolan. This would be a huge get for Texas. You can never have too many defensive linemen that can kick people's asses. You just can't. I know the staff has been in contact with him. Not a lot of reports. Been kind of quiet about, you know, where we're at in that process or if that process is ended one way or the other. Another guy, Ohio State transfer safety Cameron Martinez. The staff has been in contact with him. He showed interest in Texas. Clemson transfer safety Andrew Mukaba. And this is a guy that's from the Austin area. Has a lot of ties in Austin. I believe his head coach in high school is now like the director of player ops or something like that at the University of Texas. Holds some sort of administrative role with the football program at the University of Texas. He is actually crystal balled by several of these national recruiting guys to Texas. UTSA transfer edge Trey Moore. This is a guy, 14 sacks in 2023. So this guy can get off the edge and can get after the quarterback. Now, I know he's not playing some of the greatest talent, but I don't give a fuck. If you can get 14 sacks in a season, you can rush the passer. He is crystal balled to Texas. Another guy, UH transfer wide receiver Matthew Golden. If you watch the Houston game, you saw him wheel in a really, really nice catch against Texas, I think right before halftime. Jumped up, turned his body, caught it. Really nice catch for a touchdown. He's got speed for days. He is a crystal ball to Texas. So 3 of those 5 guys, and there may be others. These are just the ones that I feel like there's mutual interest. And then I found out today that Texas is hosting one of the top-ranked portal players in the nation. Saw this on Horns 247. Always want to give credit where credit is due. I don't know who that could be. There's not a lot of, let's just put it this way. There's not a lot of top-ranked portal guys that fit needs for Texas that have not already committed to other schools. One of those guys, Walter Nolan. So I'm just a little bit curious if that's what's going down. Don't know. We'll certainly find out in the next day or so who it was. May not find out if there's a commit there or not, but I think needs, you look at the portal, defensive back is huge. A lot of guys leaving the program. Not a lot of guys coming in. Still a lot of guys with the program, but I think if you can add an experienced defensive back, you want to do that. Defensive line, obviously, we talked about it. I don't care if you've got 40 defensive linemen. If there's a 41st that really wants to come and that guy is elite, I think you got to figure out a way to get that guy on campus. And then linebacker. Linebacker is a position also where I feel like you just can't have enough guys that can play. especially in today's football. I mean, it's not the same as it used to be. Used to be a linebacker could go out there, play the whole game because it was just a bunch of run stuff, man. They're very, very little pass protection, or pass defense these guys did. Nowadays, these guys are running all over the damn field. And the way the offenses spread the field, even right at the line of scrimmage and get the ball out quickly, running backs are running their asses off all the time. Really not possible for them to just play the whole game. So you got to have a lot of bodies at linebacker as well. So I think that's where we're sitting on transfer portal right now for Texas. A little bit of recruiting updates. The Horns currently have the number 6 ranked class in the country, according to Horns 247. 21 commits, 3 5-star commits, and these are Horn 247 5-star. Actually, all these ratings are composite ratings. Some of the Horn 247s are a little bit smaller, a little bit lower. Right now, Texas has 3 5-stars, wide receiver Ryan Wingo, edge Colin Simmons, offensive tackle Brandon Baker, 15 4-stars. We will not list them all. And then there's 3 3-stars composite. 2 of those are defensive tackles. Tavondre Sweat was a 3-star defensive tackle, by the way, and he's an All-American. Almost certainly going to be a first-round draft pick this year. Defensive tackle, offensive line are really tough positions to evaluate out of high school because these guys are big, they're strong, they're quick, and most people in high school are not those things. But it's hard to know how they're going to play against other big, strong, quick dudes. There's also like a development factor. There's a lot of skill that goes into playing, especially defensive line, that you just don't know how things are going to sort of pan out. So we just have to trust this staff that those 2 guys that they gave a scholarship to that aren't highly touted blue chip guys have the tools to be coachable and become really good players at the University of Texas. So there's those 2 guys and then a punter. So those are your 3 stars on this Texas class. Texas just picks up a commit yesterday from 4-star defensive back Kobe Black. This guy is either a safety or a cornerback. You hear him tell it, he's a cornerback. A lot of the recruiting agencies have him listed as a safety. Some of them have him as a 5-star. Some of them has him as a 4-star. He's a composite 4-star. He says he's been committed to Texas since before the season even started. So he was a silent commit, it seems like. Texas has 6 top 300 players in this class already. So what's left? And I think what's left is maybe a lot of flips. It's flipmas season, they say. And none of these are like pipe dreams. These are things that these are all guys that Texas finished, in the top 2 or 3 for their commitment as they committed to schools. Guys that the Texas staff has remained in contact with. So let's talk about those guys. 5-star Texas A&M defensive tackle commit Dominic McKinley out of Lafayette, Louisiana. He committed to A&M, I don't know, some point during this football season. But he's a guy that Texas has really stayed after. He's a possible flip. 4-star Texas A&M linebacker commit Tyanthony Smith. He's a guy that's either visiting or has been on campus already here late in the recruiting game. Here's one that I just kind of learned about this morning. 4-star Texas A&M offensive tackle commit Blake Ivy. He's another guy that the staff's been in contact with, trying to get over for a visit before signing day. 5-star Florida safety commit Xavier Filsame. I think that's how you say his last name, out of McKinney. Texas got in late on this kid. I don't know if he was like a late bloomer type guy, but Florida's been on him for a while. Texas really just started recruiting him heavily, I feel like, maybe midsummer, early this, late in the summer, early fall. He is now crystal balled to Texas. We'll see how that goes. And then another guy, 4-star Mississippi State defensive tackle commit Terrence Hibbler. He's a guy that Bo Davis has stayed in contact with, trying to get him to flip. So we'll see how those go. I mean, if Texas could pull those guys in, Texas is going to have a really good recruiting class. And then there's a couple guys that are uncommitted targets for Texas. 4-star edge Solomon Williams out of Florida. 4-star wide receiver Aaron Butler, who was one of the recent Colorado decommits. Staff's in contact with those guys trying to secure their commitments. So that's a lot of really good players. And Texas has done a good job of closing in on some of these late flips, some of these late recruiting cycle commits. They're good at it. So Texas, I feel like, has a really, really good shot at another top 3 recruiting class. Sarkisian's first recruiting class, full recruiting class at Texas, was 5th. He had a 3rd-ranked class last year. Looking like he's going to have a top 5 class this year, and possibly, a top 3 class. There's a really, 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 really outside shot. He could get the number 1 class, but that's going to take just almost. It ain't going to happen, but that's okay. Lady Horns volleyball. We said it earlier in the show. We do not do a good job keeping up with the lady sports. These ladies deserve it. They are the defending national champions in volleyball. They're 26-4 on the season. They are the lowest remaining seed left in the tournament, and they were a 2 seed in their region or super region. I'm not exactly sure how volleyball does it. Just behind Stanford. They have 2 American Volleyball Coaches Association All-Americans on this team, Madison Skinner and Asija O'Neal. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. So congratulations to those 2 ladies. I believe that came out just yesterday. But anyway, they're headed to the Final Four again. It's their 2nd trip in as many years. Their 11th trip in the last 16 years. And to get there this year, they had to avenge an early season loss to number 2 Stanford. So congratulations to those ladies. They play number 3 Wisconsin tonight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. No excuse to not watch this, Longhorn fans. No excuse. It's on ESPN. I think everybody on the planet has ESPN. If they advance tonight, they would play the winner of Nebraska and Pitt at 2 p.m. Central Time on Sunday on ABC. So good luck to those ladies tonight. I know they can do it. These volleyball ladies, I was at the Denver airport one time, and I was in the line at Smashburger. What the hell? Steak and Shake? Shaky. There's another one that does smash burgers, but they all. Shake Shack. Yes. Shake Shack. I was in line at the Shake Shack in the Denver airport, and I start looking around, and there is like these ladies around me, and I'm a pretty big dude. I'm 6 foot, 6'1"-ish, like right around in there. With shoes on, I'm 6'1", 6'2". Let's put it that way. Flat-footed, I believe I'm exactly 72 inches. So pretty tall dude. And there was all of these ladies just towering above me. I was like, what is going on? One of them kind of turned where I could read her shirt. It said Stanford Volleyball. So I just politely said, hey, you with the Stanford Volleyball team? Yeah, we are. Da-da-da. We just got done. I think they were coming back from Nebraska. And I guess their connecting flight was there in Denver. That kind of makes sense. But they were headed back to Stanford. I think there was one lady on that team, at least in my area where I was at, that was shorter than me. The rest of them towered above me. Watching these ladies play volleyball, my daughter played a little volleyball younger in her life. Really fun. It's pretty amazing what they can do. So good luck to those ladies tonight. We hope you pull it out. Hope you get in that second straight national title game. Bring it home, Lady Longhorns. Join us tomorrow. We'll have Trace Otra games. We'll do the Independence Bowl edition. Texas Tech versus Cal. That's literally the only game I care about this weekend. And I don't give a damn about another bowl game until December 27th. And that's sad. There's a lot of bowl games during that time. I just can't care. They'll be on the TV as background noise, but I don't care. Lady Horns update. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll see how they did last night. Who knows what else we'll talk about. And then next week, we'll start digging into the Sugar Bowl matchup with Washington. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Follow and subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. We appreciate the support. Email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com. with all your questions, comments, and concerns and criticisms. I love them all. You guys get hooked.